Welcome to the Be That Healing Girl podcast. And today on this episode, we're going to talk about why you think it's your fault in the relationship, even when it's not. Now, that's the clear piece here, even when it's not. So, say, for example, you don't get a text, or they're delayed in texting you back, or there's a delay in communication, or maybe they say, "Hey, babe, I loved spending time together this weekend, and I just need some time to recharge." And you automatically go, like quicker than a flash of lightning, you go into, what did I do wrong? Did I say something wrong? Did I not do the thing that I was supposed to the right way? How did I mess up? If you automatically go to, what did I do wrong? I screwed up. It's my fault. They need XYZ. Then this is the episode for you, my friend. And I would save it, send it, download it, all the things to make sure you can have this in your Rolodex. And if you're new here, my name is Claire. I'm a relationship coach, and I love helping high-performing, high-achieving girlies like you who maybe has letters behind your name. Maybe you're a doctor or lawyer. Maybe you've climbed the corporate ladder. Maybe you are an academic. And maybe you are just so successful on paper, but inside your inner world is not a pretty place. You are freaking out and overthinking and spiraling at really small things. Like small things cause big reactions for you, and it just feels like you are on a cycle of pain and misery, and it sucks. So if that's you, sweetheart, you are in the right place. And I'm really excited to dive into this with you. And if you're enjoying this episode or any other episode, hitting the 5 stars seriously means so much. And also, I'm so thankful for you if you are listening on Spotify. We've been having some weird tech issues on there. So if the audio is kind of cranky, we're going to try our best and optimize to make sure that it all sounds good. And I thank you ahead of time because, it's a small team over here. It's really it's small. So thank you for being patient as I am diligently offering my heart to you in these podcasts. Thanks so much. So also, a little thing that I wanted to drop into today is that next week is Craig and I's anniversary. And I thought it would be super fun to have him back on the potty with you all. And I also thought, how fun would it be to have you, number one, ask some questions. So you can DM me seriously, it's all game. Like, I think actually, I love that. It's all game, whatever you want to ask Craig himself or me and Craig and I, whatever the case is. And I also thought about this too, which would be fun. So you can ask a big question like, what was it like for you guys initially? Like, all that's game and fair. And I also thought we could bring back a little game that we played at our wedding. So I can't believe it's going to be our anniversary. It's just, honestly, just feels like we got married like last year. But it really is a fun thing to think back and reflect on what our wedding was like. And we did this really cool thing. One of my dearest friends, we were married by a good friend of ours. I actually met Craig and this friend, Nate, at the same time. He officiated our wedding, and his wife, Caroline, maybe you'll meet her. I hope that's the case here. I asked her to be the game chancellor for this, the game warden. What do you call that? The MC for this game. And it was basically, we both took off our shoes. So in my hand, I had one of my shoes and I had one of Craig's shoes. And I let her choose the questions, which are so fun. And I also, if you know me, this is one of my favorite games of like this or that, would you rather, what's better? And so we got to vote, okay, who's a better kisser? Obviously me, dog eyes. Like, really, I'm the better kisser, obviously. But it was really fun to do this or that in our wedding reception. And if you want to do that too, super fun. You can send me your this or that, and we'll play that game with Craig. So, and just like one other thing about my wedding, that if you're considering getting married, and I do have I'd say like a good portion of my clients are, I just had a client get engaged. Like there's a lot kind of happening. There's a lot of long-term relationship. I do want to say this that I was thinking about because I did go to a wedding last week. Funny story, and I'll probably talk about this in a different episode, but it was my maid of honor who was in my wedding. It was her wedding. And side note, I was not in the wedding. More on that if you want to know. But one thing that kind of made me think about my wedding was that even though I loved my dress, there was actually another dress that was a little higher price that I honestly wish I had done. And so I don't know, I have very mixed feelings about the wedding industry. I think it is really tricky, and I do have just certain thoughts around it, but if you know or you have a gut feeling, and that's actually one thing. I had a gut feeling about the initial dress that I wanted, and I'm glad I got my dress. It was great. I loved it. My back, like smashing. I don't know when I'll get my back looking like that, but hopefully soon. But it was a really interesting experience. And now that I reflect on it, I really had wished I had gotten this different dress. But that's just me. I have a lot of opinions around the wedding industry. It's an industry. So send me your this or that questions, or send me big questions for next week's episode with Craig. And I was thinking about this whole piece today on why you think it's your fault. Now, I just want to preface this episode with saying that relationships are partnerships. They are a relationship. And so it is one thing to take responsibility in your relationship, and it's another thing to blame. Blame and responsibility are in my world, two different things. And I wanted to kind of go into this episode sharing a little bit of what smacked me in the face most recently when it came to this experience that Craig and I had, where I really missed an opportunity. I missed the opportunity for connection. And so what happened was Craig his back has been not so great. We're kind of in our 40s, so it's not like, it's interesting to have body issues. But he had been having this back pain, and I've heard him have owies occasionally, and I have noticed that he had been moving differently, and especially over the weekend, and he took it upon himself to see my chiropractor, who is, if you're in Denver, happy to pass him to you. He has literally saved so many ailments in the body on me. And he went to this appointment, and I thought no big deal. He comes back, and basically the news was he might have herniated his disc. And in that moment, I will tell you, I like to say that it doesn't really matter in relationship if you have anxious attachment and you think you're in a long-term relationship or you're married, it's going to go away, because in that moment I had a bit of a spiral. And this is so connected to when you think something is your fault. And in that moment, I totally spiraled, and I immediately went into my own protective mechanisms. I went into what's going to happen. Oh my gosh, like, do we have insurance for this? And is he going to need surgery? I mean, as you know, have a fitness background. So and coaching in many different ways. But I immediately spiraled into what's going to happen, and oh my gosh, what's going to happen with his job and income and all these things. And I will just tell you right now, the essence of it was I made it about me. And I got upset, and I was having a little freak out. And I immediately could see my error in that moment. Now, I'm not saying I like made it right in that moment. I needed to handle my own business in that moment. But this is so connected to why we think it's our fault, because some of my thoughts in that moment was, what could I have done? What did I not do? What if I had told him to stretch more before his soccer game? What if I had told him to stretch and do these exercises and taken him to the gym with me? I automatically went into what could I have done, and somehow I could have impacted where he's at today. And what happens when we do that, why we kind of go into that spiral. And to me, that spiral literally in my body felt exactly like if I didn't get a text back or there's a delay, very much like when we first started dating. And when we go into what could I have done? What did I do wrong? Why is it my fault? When we go into why is it my fault, that is basically saying we are leaning into a false sense of control. We go into why is it my fault, we are leaning into this illusion, a false sense of control. And I missed that opportunity for us to connect. Instead, I went into myself, I went into self-protection, I spiraled out because I got scared. right? I felt out of control. I felt, oh my gosh, like what's going to happen? I don't know what's going to happen with his body, and does he need surgery? And I felt out of control. And so when we go into that spiral and we feel out of control, we feel, what did I do wrong? What fault of mine is there? Then the reason why we go into that is because we have this illusion that we could have fixed it. All right. So when we go into it's my fault, really what you're saying is I could have fixed it. And when we are in that mode of fixing, when we want to fix things, we want to make it better, why is it my fault? Really, we think we can fix things because underneath there's a belief that I'm unworthy, that I'm somehow flawed. Okay. Because if I'm flawed, that's something I can fix. And if I can fix something, that makes me feel like I'm in control. And so, really, at the bottom of this, we go all the way down to the bottom of the hamper. There is a belief that feels that you are flawed, that somehow you are not worthy, and you need to fix something inside of you to make sure that things are okay. And as you can see and probably feel and hear, that's a big problem, right? Because when I was writing that, when I was feeling out of control and I wanted to fix it, and it triggered this deep underlying belief that I get to work with forever and ever. Yay. I love that about my journey, where there is something inside that is calling to be looked at, that says, I'm flawed, right? I'm not perfect. And it does take time and energy. And I'm just even outing myself here. I put a lot of time and energy, work, investment, time, all of it into healing. And at the same time, healing isn't an end zone. It's not a destination. It's a process. And we are going to have opportunities where we're going to feel disconnected. We're going to disconnect from the actual truth, which is you are whole in your imperfection, right? Nobody's perfect. And I just wanted to share that insight, number one, because I want to really make sure that you understand that healing isn't like this whole pristine, like totally white is like a wedding dress, I guess, like totally white experience. Healing is a process. It is a journey. It is step by step. It's also messy, straight up. Healing is straight up messy. And I will share that we were able to repair that. I definitely took time to look Craig in the eye and say, wow, news must have been really intense for you. How are you doing? And I'm so sorry for taking up all that space in that moment and making it about me when his back is hurting. And wow, he's faced with, do we have to have surgery? Does he have to have surgery? So I'm sharing that because it's powerful for us to understand what is going on and what is getting triggered inside of us, these mechanisms that get triggered to help us feel this false sense of control. We're feeling out of control. That's why the spiral sucks so bad, because we are trying to get control. And the reality is there is no control. And again, this is also one of the reasons why in the Healing Girl Gang, we go topic by topic each and every month to close that gap and that knee-jerk reaction of I have to fix it. Because when we go into fixing, it's this underlying belief that we have flaws, and when we have a belief that we have flaws and that something inherently inside of us is wrong, we feel unsafe. We can't feel safe. Even with the best partner, we will not feel safe if we don't feel safe inside ourselves. And that's what we build in the Healing Girl Gang, that inner sense of safety, brick by brick, and we do it together. Speaking of Healing Girl Gang, I'm going to bring up a question. And one of the cool things, besides the overthinking detox and implementation days, is that I get to answer questions. It's one of my favorite parts of the Healing Girl Gang. So I also love that this person asked this question because she gets so much access to me as a one-on-one client. But you guys have heard her on the podcast, The Potty. Stephanie has a question. She says, hey, hello, y'all. So cute. I just re-listened to the podcast about boundaries. That's a good one. I definitely both give so much and have issues with setting boundaries because I don't want to rock the boat. Does that sound like y'all? So a light bulb went off when you said boundaries equals security. My question is, how can I start setting my boundaries without feeling like I'm being annoying or that the boundary is coming from a place of insecurity and control? I love this question. What a great question. And I want to say, and this is going to serve everybody, is that when you are not used to setting boundaries is going to feel annoying. I'll say that again. If you are not used to setting boundaries, then setting boundaries, when you finally do that internally, it's going to feel like you're taking up way too much space. It's going to feel like too much. It's going to feel like you're being in their face and bossy. I don't like to use that word necessarily, but you're being in their face, you're being directive, when actually, when you start to learn how to put up healthy boundaries internally, and you've never had them before, it is going to rock your boat. Because if your mentality is, I don't want to rock the boat, then you probably are never going to set boundaries. I shouldn't say never, but it's likely that you're not good, love you, at setting boundaries. So when you finally do start to learn how to set boundaries, it's going to feel like an affront. It's going to feel offensive. You're going to feel like that is way too much because your set point is, I love you so low. I love you, but that's probably what's happening, right? If you've never set boundaries, you have let people walk all over you, you are a people pleaser, then absolutely setting a boundary is going to feel like an affront. It's going to feel out of place. It's going to feel uncomfortable. And that's okay. I'm okay with you feeling uncomfortable if it means that you're getting used to setting boundaries. And just like anything else, working out is uncomfortable, right? You are going to feel tingling, burning in your muscles when you do squat. If you've never done squats and you're getting stronger, there's going to be a burn. You're going to be sore the next day or the next 2 days. And while that is uncomfortable, you are building muscles that you never had before. So I would rather you pose the question of, what am I willing to get uncomfortable with? Boom, mic drop. So hope that was really helpful. I love sharing insight with you and keeping it super honest and super real, because I just don't think that it's a service to anybody to show that things are perfect out there on the social media webosphere of things. And I want to keep things really real with you. And it's, again, because healing is not an end destination, it's a process. And I'm in the process. Maybe I'm 1 or 2 steps ahead of you, but I know what the process is like. And I want to just remove any stigma or belief that things are going to be perfect. Okay, angels, I'll see you. Mwah.